Still overseas, and US President Donald Trump and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer have signed a deal to expand nuclear power across both nations. The agreement aims to fast-track the construction of new reactors and provide low-carbon energy. Well, for more, joining us live from Washington, D.C. is American Nuclear Society's External Affairs Committee Chair, Paul Dickman. Paul, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. A busy week for you at the IAEA conference. A lot going on in the energy space, including the agreement with the UK and US. What can you tell us?
Well, thank you for having me. Well, I would say it was a pretty exciting week for a lot of things going on. Yes, obviously the signing agreement between the UK and the US on a variety of actions really brings about the opportunity for a large expansion of nuclear, particularly small nuclear power plants within the UK system. But it's both an industrial agreement as well as a government agreement, and both parts have really some profound opportunities to grow.
And there's AI, energy, security, jobs, lowering emissions. In terms of nuclear and energy in general, how significant is this deal?
Well, I think it's well, just to be a little bit cautious, it remains to be seen, because obviously this is not this is the start of a process, and clearly you've seen the excitement with companies starting to negotiate with organizations and companies within the UK. But at the same time, this is not a process that happens overnight. Licensing a nuclear power plant, regardless of what size, takes time, and it's done in a cautious fashion. The UK's ONR, Office of Nuclear Regulation, is a stringent and good regulator, and they're going to be reviewing everything very cautiously. So while it's a good start, tomorrow is not when it's going to happen.
Sure. And tell us more about the US Senate to announce the appointment of Ted Garish as Assistant Secretary of Nuclear Energy. Tell us about his background.
Well, so everybody in Washington, D.C. knows Ted because he's been in the Department of Energy in a variety of capacities. In fact, he previously was the Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Energy under a different president. And Ted's a very experienced politician, I guess is how I'd phrase it. Although his background is he's an attorney. He was actually at one time the chief counsel for the Department of Energy. He also was the assistant secretary for international affairs. I have to confess that at one point in my career, I actually worked for Ted. So I know him. I think he's a great man. I think, and he is clearly dedicated to expanding cooperation with other countries in nuclear area.
It's interesting, we've got our Prime Minister heading to your country, and energy is a big topic here as well. We've got our WA Premier heading to China and also Japan to talk about energy, but gas, potentially the lifting of a uranium ban here in Western Australia, but it's all talk at the moment. Talk us through the importance of nuclear energy moving forward. We see the President signing executive orders and fast-tracking it, as we've just mentioned, and quadrupling nuclear energy. How significant is it in terms of where you are and across the world?
Well, if I think from the United States standpoint, you have to remember that we really haven't really been building nuclear power plants in this country, except for the two that we did at Vogtle, which were the large AP1000s. But what we are doing is we're starting to retire older coal plants and looking at replacing them with smaller nuclear power. So what you're seeing is resurgence of interest in nuclear power because this is an alternate energy source rather than coal. And there's lots of companies involved in this. Not all will be successful, but clearly right now we have a few that are well along in their licensing process. They will make a big difference in the market because many of them are load following reactors, meaning that you can couple these nuclear power plants with renewables, which are intermittent, and you can have a constant source of supply. So that's really one of the advantages of some of these smaller reactors, and seeing them deployed along with the renewables is going to make a big difference in the U.S. as well as other places.
Yeah, plenty to look out for. Paul Dickman, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.